very powerfully involved in using even then, even in the Chassidus Rabbi, we talked about the time, the only time that's what their whole being is in question. Right? And they're going to figure that out in their own say without help from above. Right? Because I'm supposed to figure it out, right? I mean, it's supposed to be my seichel trying to understand the Torah. Right? I don't want my learning to be this incredible inspiration of godly wisdom that is beyond my wisdom, and really I don't understand anything, but there's this miracle every time I open the book and I come to some sort of understanding. Well, that's not exactly learning Torah, right? I'm supposed to sit down and figure it out with my own seichel. Figure it out with my own seichel. Oh, okay, so then that creates a certain dichotomy. Rabbi talks about it at great length in Kuntres Eitzachayim. The whole idea of learning Chassidus before learning Nigla is to make sure that my Nigla doesn't separate me from God. Why might it? Because it's a very, very powerful expression of my own seichel. It's me tackling this Gemara, and I have to figure it. There's no question. I have to figure it out. Right? Tzemach Tzedek even once said that he doesn't ask for help from above. Try to figure out Torah. After the whole idea is to learn it myself. Trying to figure out with my seichel. Okay, so now what can happen? I might get a little carried away with the seichel of it, right? And forget the God of it.
I thought that when you're reading Torah, like Talmud, that since that's
absolutely astounding, the fifth parak of Tanya. Amazing connection. But I'm not necessarily thinking of that connection when I'm sitting. We'll see what the Rabbi says here. But I'm not necessarily thinking of that connection when I'm learning. I'm thinking of trying to figure out what Rabbi's question is. At that moment, I'm connecting the Eibishter. But I'm trying to figure out what Rabbi's question is. That's my Aveda right now.
Is it lasting?
What's lasting? The connection?
Yes.
Yes. It's mitzvahs and Torah. Right? Torah is the sun and mitzvah is the candle. The candle gives light, but when it goes out, the sun gives light all the time. Right? Okay. So the Rabbi explains, Alfin de Beraisa de Havaya, that is margish the elokus in the Daf Gemara. Now, you can say the same. We're going to see the Rebbe's even going to talk about that relative to Chassidus. Right? Rav Steinsaltz used to say, right, and it's a very powerful statement. He said that a person who learns Gemara and becomes a yesh, is very impressed with his Gemara knowledge. So he's like a pregnant woman. She's a little bigger than normal, but you can explain why, meaning it's understood in terms of what learning Torah is about and why that might happen and what you have to do to make sure that doesn't happen, etc., because that's natural, that can happen. He said a person learns Chassidus and becomes a Baal Gaiva because he knows so much Chassidus, like a pregnant man. He's big, like a pregnant man. He's bigger than he should be, and there's no explanation whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because if you're learning Chassidus and you're impressed,
in America. We're saying it's not true anymore in America.
What people are?
Pregnant.
Pregnant men. Yeah, okay. No, but say the mushal might not work as well, but the mushal's still true, right? I mean, the fact that there's people who don't understand that, so that's their problem. But that's still the mushal is still the mushal. By virtue of this sensitivity to the elokus in the Torah that I'm learning, even when I'm sitting in front of Talmud Bavli, gama limud asaga shalehu bebitl. He's in a state of bitl even when he's learning, even though seichel is the ultimate expression of the opposite of bitl. Seichel is the ultimate expression of yesh, right? What does the Rebbe Rashab say? Hafatza samayanas chutza. Bringing about the revelation of the well springs of Chassidus outside. Where is the ultimate outside? Seichel Enoshi, in human intellect. Teaching your head Chassidus. That's the ultimate chutzah. Chutzah isn't the bar in Machne Yehuda. Chutzah is my intellect. I mean, that's also chutzah, but chutzah is my intellect. That's the ultimate chutzah. What's the source of all evil in the world? Human intellect. The only creature that can do something against the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a human being. Why? Because we have something called intellect, and we can come to the conclusion to do something that God doesn't want. Lions don't do anything against God's will. We might be cheering for the gazelle to run away from the cheetah and not get eaten by the cheetah, right? Like we're always rooting for the gazelle, I think, most of us. And maybe there's actually some creepy people who root for the cheetah, but most of us, I think, are rooting for the gazelle. Run, man, run, he's coming. And the cheetah's running and running. And as fast as the gazelle is, at some point the cheetah goes whap with his thing and wipes out the back legs of the gazelle, and he falls down and he gets up and he runs away, but then it's over. And sooner or later, he's got him by the neck and he drags him back under the tree and he eats him for the next, week, whatever. It's a little gross, I'm sure, after 6 days, but okay. But that's what cheetahs do. That's not evil. That's just lunch. That's what that's what they do. And then they're not gonna. You don't see cheetahs out there. Let's go kill 30 gazelles, guys, right now. They don't do that. And there'll be a bunch of cheetahs eating that one gazelle, right? There'll be a whole crew of them, I assume, right? I mean, I think cheetahs work. Lions for sure work that way. I assume other cats do, right? Okay. Fine. If there's other, it can be really interesting, right? If there's things that are going to take it away from the cheetah because they're bigger than the cheetah sometimes will take it up a tree. You'll see this schlepping this deer up a tree. I mean, it's wild stuff, but they only do one, right? Because they have to eat. Humans are the ones who could go out there and decide they're going to shoot 40 of them because it's fun and leave them there. I won't even take them home to eat. I'll just leave them there. What do I care? And that's not exactly the most extreme extent of human evil, right? So humans, and where's that called? It all comes from intellect. So intellect can be a rather dangerous thing. It can also be a cleave for incredible holiness, learning Torah. But when I'm learning Torah, I have to be careful that I don't get carried away with the intellect of it, and I remember the Havaya of it. So that's what the Rebbe is saying here. Now, interesting. Limud Torah, though, generally is what we've been calling, even though we didn't talk about it very much in this mimer, it's talked about, we did talk about it outside because it's talked about in almost every Poda besholom mimer, that Limud Torah is Poda besholom. How do you bring about a rectification of physical reality besholom? Learn about it in the Torah. Right? You're elevating that aspect of physical reality even though you're not directly encountering it. If you're learning about a shor, shenagach, it's a para, so you're elevating the shor and the para by sitting in your living room with a cup of mint tea, learning about the shor and the par, but they're not in your living room destroying it by virtue of having one chase after the other and gore him on your living room floor. That's not happening. Right? You're not encountering them, but you're elevating them through Torah. Tefillah is the battle where you have to literally encounter the Nefesh Bahamis directly and get the Nefesh Bahamis to tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the Nefesh Bahamis loves him. That's a battle. That's a milchama. That's usually the explanation of Poda besholom nafshi, the difference between Tefillah and Torah, and that even Tefillah can be elevated to the level of Torah. Right? That's what most of the Maimarim talk about. Right? Here, the Rebbe is talking about something else. Now, this whole Maimer, but it's interesting. Here now, the Rebbe is going to talk about Torah and Tefillah very, very quickly. Right? And that bittul is going to be the source that allows him to bring about the synthesis of these two different levels of Avodah, the Avodah from below above and the Avodah from above below, and that in each of those Avodas, the advantage of both will be expressed through the bittul, which we said in Vav. Okay, but I still don't understand it. Keep reading. Right. Now the Rabbi says, how do you come to that? How do you come to that bittul through learning Torah? In order that a person's learning all day should be bebittul, it's by davening first. Even though we learned Chassidus before davening, beseder, but the davening that we do is ultimately that which elevates the Torah of the whole day, because if we can connect to a Kadosh Baruch through a davening, then that's going to imbue our Torah with elokus. Hu al-yidei hakdamas avedus tefillah. Ki inyan tefillah hu his kashrus v'bittul elokus. What's tefillah? Connecting to the Eibishter and being bottled to the Eibishter. Now, the Rebbe is not discussing tefillah, that's it. He just finished his discussion of tefillah. That obviously is discussed at great length in many, many places in Chassidus. Here, the Rebbe is just talking about it because the Rebbe wants to talk about what learning is about, and we'll see that let's see the hemshach, the continuation of all this, where the Rebbe is going to explain it very, very, very clearly. That's why I want to get you there. All right, so then this will be more fully understood. All right, so if I'm in a state of bittul, then my learning of Torah will be that which connects me to the Eibishter, as opposed to that which can disconnect me from the Eibishter, which the Rebbe talks about here, but is explained at great length in Kuntrus Eitz Chaim and the Rebbe Rashab, where the Rebbe Rashab quotes Chazal and says, Chazal say, the Torah Shebal Peh is either Sam HaChaim or Sam HaMavis. The Torah Shebal Peh can be the potion of life or the potion of death. How can Torah be the potion of death? Because through learning Torah, I can come farther away from the Eibishter, because I can become more and more impressed with myself and think less and less about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right? I told you that story, right? It's just a story that illustrates it most. Well, the Rebbe's going to tell some stories here that illustrate it very, very vividly. But someone I know is a plumber. Right? I've told you the story. He's a plumber, and we're learning Baba Basra. Right? He was a plumber, and he was asked to fix someone's pipe, and this guy was a Kedol Yungalite here from Yerushalayim. Sits in Kedol and learns Torah all day. Nice thing to do. So the plumber told him there's two choices here, one easy one and one hard one. The pipes from the roof to your apartment are rotted out. We can either run pipes, plastic pipes through those pipes, but that's going to affect your water pressure because they're obviously going to be much thinner. Or, and this is what you see all over in Yerushalayim, we can run pipes outside the building down, and we'll put them in such a way that they're not so ugly and they're put in a corner. And you see it all over Yerushalayim. If you notice, you'll see these pipes coming down outside. In the older buildings, because the older buildings, the pipes weren't plastic, they were metal, and they rusted out after a while. So we'll put it down the side and into your apartment, but you should probably ask a shayla about hezek riyah relative to your neighbors. Can you do that? So this young guy, this guy was sitting, learning in Kailo, talking to his plumber. His plumber's the one who told him that maybe you should ask a question. And he said to the plumber, I don't want to shtickle Torah, I just want you to fix my pipes. Meaning, the Torah has nothing to do with anything in life. It's just this conceptual thing that I sit and do all day, so I'll be holy. It has nothing to do with life. Well, that's not Torah Savaya. That's the opposite of Torah Savaya. Right? That Torah is pushing that guy away from the Eibishter, right? Which is frightening. Right? Now, I certainly hope that he's an aberration and not, a normal. But it's such an amazing line. I don't want to shtickle Torah, I want you to fix my pipes. The Torah is about fixing pipes. That's what the Torah is about. This pachim ktanim. What did Yaakov go to get? Pachim ktanim. Amazing sikh of the Rebbe, where the Rebbe says the two different pshatim. When v'yivaser Yaakov levade, he was left alone. This week's parsha, right? He was left alone. So Rashi brings, he went to get the pachim ktanim, and that's based on Tosfos says levado is lekado. Not that the words change, but that's what it means. He went to get his kadim, his pictures. There's a medrash that says that Yaakov is now on the level of kinizgav shmei levade. He's like the Eibishter, levado. He's going to get, little test tubes. He's going to get a bunch of little test tubes for his play chemistry set, right? That's what's over there, right? Pachim, right? And at the same time, he's nizgav shmei levade. Well, that's what the Rebbe says. That's exactly the point. Where do you see the greatest revelation of Elokus? Dafka in the Pachim Ktanim, dafka in the mundane reality of Elam Hazeh. That's where you reveal the most powerful levels of Elokus. Because that's what the Eibishter wants. That's how he created the world. So where do you reveal the Eibishter? In your pipes. That's where he is, because you have pipes. Right? So that's where you'll find the Eibishter, if you learn the Torah right. Right? So now how do you learn that Torah right? The Hagdom of Tefillah, meaning, then the Rebbe's not getting into that whole discussion of how Tefillah does that. Bittul. That's what the Rebbe wants us to understand. The bittul, and that bittul comes from Kibbur Avim Hayu Imadi, right? The connection to Yechidah Shebenefesh. Okay, so let's see what the Rebbe says about all this, because it's really quite astounding. And then the Rebbe is going to explain it in Ches a little bit, but in Tes completely, all of this. Val Yedei Limud Torah Ba'ofen Zeh Dafka, specifically this type of learning bebittel, learning where a person's sensitive to the elokus in the words all the time. Like Rav Zusha, right? Rav Zusha was on page Beis Amud Aleph. You've heard the story 20 times. That's okay, because you don't remember it, right? And Rav Zusha was on Beis Amud Aleph, and his Talmidim were on Zusha Vanipoli, and his Talmidim were on Gimel, they were on Dalet, they were on Hey. They went back to Beis to check it out because they didn't understand. Maybe they missed something. They learned Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, learned it again and again and again, couldn't figure it out. They went to Vav, Zayin. Finally, they asked the Rebbe, is there a problem on Beis Amud Aleph? The Rebbe hasn't moved. And so she said, no, because we went back. We were a few lines, pages ahead, and we went back to Beis Amud Aleph thinking there must be something we missed. He said, no, it's relatively straightforward. So why is the Rebbe still here? And Rav Zusha looked at them and said, it's so beautiful here. Why should I go anywhere else? Uh-huh. There's more God on Beis Amud Aleph, on Beis Amud Beis, than there is on Beis Amud Aleph. So I'm in such a hurry to get to Beis Amud Beis. I have to get the Gimel. You have to finish the Masechta, because I only see God when I close the book and say I finished it. No, God's in every word. That sensitivity is hard to have when you're battling with your seichel to try to figure it out. That's what brings about Rav Shloim. That brings about the Sholem of Milamayla Lamata and Milamata Lamayla. Ribui Sholem L'Talmidei Chachamim Ha'iskim b'Torah. The great Sholem of the Talmidei Chachamim that are involved in Torah. And what do we say? They're Marba Sholem Ba'elam. Who's Marba Sholem Ba'elam? The people who learn Torah with this bittul and with this appreciation of the elokus of Torah. And the Rebbe is going to explain all that. So that's why I want to get you to the next paragraph. V'gam ribui Sholem Ba'elam. Like we just said. Oh, okay. So this pasuk called Benayach is about Torah, right? We had the pasuk Poda besholom is the relationship between the nefesh elokis and the nefesh habahamis. V'shavti besholom is the relationship of the yid to olam hazeh, to elevate the nitzutzes of kedusha that are found everywhere in olam hazeh. And the third pasuk that Rabbi brings in the Maimer is Chol Benayach. That's Torah, finding the kedusha of Torah, elevating the Torah. And you don't have to elevate the Torah, allowing the Torah to elevate you and to connect you to the Eibishter. How? Bittul. To learn Torah in a knife and a bittul. Again, the Rebbe will explain that more as we go through the Maimer. Okay, so now the Rebbe is going to really give it to us over the head here. It's really quite astounding. From the continuation of the words of the Frierdiker Rebbe in his Maimer, B'chol Benayach, the Kishalima the Torah Eina Ba'efen Kazeh, when learning Torah is not like this, as then Neisef Lezeh Sheina Mevi Shalom Beilam. In addition to the fact that he doesn't bring peace into the world, Efshar Sheyavid Lapidur Lavaves. This can bring about ultimately a lack of people getting along. Pidur Lavav, separation of hearts. Hepach HaSholem, the opposite of Sholem. Now, this is described in Kunter Seitz Chaim of the Rebbe Rashab. But here the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking about, and the Rebbe is bringing it. I'm going to try to get to, I want you to see this whole paragraph in the next 20 minutes. When it's lacking in a person, the sensitivity to the fact that the Torah is the Eibishter's Torah. Therefore, he holds a lot of goodness to himself. Shalom Torah Harbe. He's very impressed with himself that he learned a lot of Torah. And he becomes someone very haughty. He sees himself as a very lofty person, as an important person. And more important than other people who don't know as much Torah as him. And this brings to a separation of hearts. In other words, for people not to get along, the opposite of shalom. Because as a result of his yeshus, his own self-importance, he thinks that everything that the other person says or does, to to be in opposition to him. The person's so wrapped up in himself that every time anybody says something, he thinks they're saying something to affect him negatively. It's like the front pages of the newspapers, right? Okay, right. So the Rebbe is going to bring the famous story of the Tzemach Tzedek that is quoted in the Maimer. But interesting enough, it's only quoted in the Maimer the second time. The first time when the Rebbe said the Maimer by the Rebbe's Ufruf, the Frierdiker Rebbe said the Maimer on Shabbos by the Rebbe's Ufruf, so he wasn't talking to Tamimim. He's talking to whoever, I'm a Balabatim, Chassidim. So there the Rebbe didn't bring this story. The second time in Tenchei Tamimim, the Rebbe did bring this story. Everything else in the Maimer was lit, they say, I was not there. It was 95 years ago. I was very young. I wasn't invited, right? So that word for word, the Maimer, evidently, word for word, what the Rebbe said in on Shabbos, he said in Tenchei Tamimim, except this story. The Rebbe says this. The Rebbe tells this, that everything is word for word except this story. Right? Okay, so now what's the story? Because Sipur, and it's so, and everybody knows this story, but because it's a famous story. But the Rebbe's medayik in every Indian in the story, and that's a whole new story. Right? What's the story? Basipur, a mover ba Maimer, that's brought in the Maimer. Right? Again, the second time the Rebbe said the Maimer. She'echad, one, a person, Bar Das Godel Baskola, who was a very, very serious Talmud Chacham. Baal at Tzemach Tzedek al Yechidus. He came to the Tzemach Tzedek in Yechidus. Vis Einen, and he complained. As mitretov mir in Beis Medrash. They're stepping all over me in the Beis Medrash. Right? They're not treating me with the proper respect in the Beis Medrash. They're stepping on me. V'analei at Tzemach Tzedek, and Tzemach Tzedek answered him, Du bist sich mispashet über dem ganzen Beis Medrash, since you're spreading out over the whole Beis Medrash, meaning you're so impressed with yourself, it's like you're taking up all the space. Is vu jener treten also if dir, wherever anybody steps, they're stepping on you. If you're taking up so much space, of course they're stepping on you because you're everywhere. Every block is you. So of course they're stepping on you. That was the Tzemach Tzedek's answer to it. Whoa. It's a very famous story, but now the Rebbe explains the story. It's really astounding. V'yesh lemer. Dezeh shemevi ba Maimer, that which is brought in the Maimer, shatayna shaloi, his claim, haishish the reses ala bebeis medrash. He didn't say everybody's stepping on me in the street. He said everybody's stepping on me in the Beis Medrash. Meaning, even when he was in the Beis Medrash, he thought everybody was stepping on him. He was such a yesh. Right? Mail in the street when you're dealing with Gashmias and you're okay, say there, it's possible to sort of, get into yourself a little bit, whatever. Beis Medrash. Let's look at what the Rabbi says. The Gam Beis Medrash Mikdash Ma'at. That even though the Beis Medrash is a small Mikdash, meaning it's a little piece of the Beis Mikdash. The Ashuras Shechina, that the dwelling of the Shechina Sheba Mikdash Ma'at, in the Mikdash Ma'at of a Zal, of a Beis Medrash, he may ein Ashuras Shechina Sheba Beis Mikdash, is like the Ashuras Shechina in the Beis Mikdash, which is why a person treats a Beis Medrash with respect. Mikol Mokim, Gam Sham, even there. Even there, his yeshus was spread out all over the place. Even when he was learning Torah, he was a yesh. I was bringing this story to illustrate what we were talking about. Umadayik ba Maimer. And the Frierdiker Rabbi explains in the Maimer, that which he was complaining in front of the Tzemach Tzedek, shedoresis a love that they're dorsim a love him, so that they're stepping on him. This is when he was b'Yechidus. Right? It says he was in Yechidus by the Tzemach Tzedek. The inyan Yechidus who? What's Yechidus? And here the Rebbe says something that isn't said in too many places, even though there's a footnote here we'll talk about in a minute. Look what the Rebbe says about Yechidus. What does it mean to have Yechidus with the Rebbe? And that, interestingly enough, the Rebbe said the new Yechidus is dollars. Right? When the Rebbe started giving out dollars and basically not taking people in Yechidus because there were just too many people and he couldn't do it, he said, the Yechidus is now dollars. That means everybody who went by was basically in Yechidus with the Rebbe for those 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long you were standing there. The Inyan Yechidus, who is kashrus Yechidus zeh hanichnas Yechidus, it's connecting the Yechidus benefesh of the one entering into Yechidus, ima Yechida, with the Yechida Shela Admar of the Rebbe Shelav Nichnas, the Rebbe went into. That's Yechidus. Your Yechida is going to be connected to the Yechida of the Rebbe, and that's why it's called Yechidus. Now, footnote 47 mentions something. It's very interesting that the Rebbe himself puts in this footnote in the Maimer. Re'ei Barucha Sicha Simchas Torah Shana Zu. See Simchas Torah Tavshin Chav Beis. So Simchas Torah Tavshin Chav Beis wasn't there either. But there are three of us who were alive then, but we weren't there, but we were at least alive. We weren't alive the first Maimer. This one we were alive, right? So in Chav Beis, evidently, Shlomo Zarka, it's someone I know, Shlomo Zarka was there and was explaining to him what he said. There's probably one of the most famous verbringings of the Rebbe ever is Purim Tavshin Chai. Purim Tavshin Yud Ches, 1958, the Rebbe verbringed. I mean, Rabbi Groner told us. Rabbi Groner spent Purim with us here in Har Nof 2 years in a row, and told us stories about Purim Tavshin Chai. Purim Tavshin Chai, the Rebbe took a lot of l'chaims. Right? There were still a lot of older Chassidim who were Chassidim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Rebbe was a relatively young Rebbe. He'd been Rebbe 8 years, 7 years, but still younger than a lot of. He was younger than the older Chassidim for sure, and. The Rebbe took a lot of l'chaim and was for bringing. It's a very long for bringing, and at one point, this is what Rabbi Groner told us. There was a discussion behind the older Chassidim wanted to take the mashka away from the Rebbe because the Rebbe's drinking too many l'chaims. You can hear on the tape the Rebbe's voice that the Rebbe drank l'chaims. It's one of you can hear the way the Rebbe's talking that he took a lot of l'chaims, right? And it's Purim. So the older Chassidim are trying to take away the bottle, and the younger Chassidim are saying, "Well, it's the Rebbe. Right? The Rebbe knows what he's doing." And the older Chassidim, anyway, the older Chassidim won. Right? The bottle disappeared from the table. The Rebbe finished for bringing at some point. Rabbi Groner said, walking back to, it wasn't upstairs in those days, it wasn't downstairs, upstairs, walking back to the Rebbe's office. So the Rebbe asked Rabbi Groner, what happened to the mashka? So Rabbi Groner explained the machlekes, and that the older Chassidim won, and the Rebbe said, Chaval, there would have been even more giluyim.
Right.
So the Rebbe said to Rabbi Groner. So that was the famous Purim Tavshin Chai. Evidently, Simchas Torah Tavshin Chav Beis was very similar. The Rebbe forbringed all night, just forbringed all night. At one point in the forbringing, the Rebbe was talking about Yechidus. And he told a story that two younger light came into, they didn't come in together, they came in different times. Two younger light came into Yechidus, and then the Rebbe explains what's Yechidus, and the Rebbe said this, also there, the Rebbe explains, Yechidus is when the Yechida of the Chassid is connecting to the Yechida of the Rebbe, which is interesting that the Rebbe is referring to himself as Rebbe. If those people are coming, that usually is not the case, right? We know the Frierdiker Rebbe is the Rebbe always. But okay, the Yechida of the Chassid is connecting to the Yechida of the Rebbe who is coming into Yechidus. And what do they ask about? The Rebbe said, they ask about a carpet, because they have problems in Gashmias. Or they ask about a Hollywood kitchen. A Hollywood kitchen. Whatever a Hollywood kitchen is, I don't know, I guess a fancy kitchen. The Rebbe is like really for bringing, and then that someone would come into Yechidus and ask for Gashmias. Right? Your Yechida is connected to the Rebbe's Yechida, and right now you could learn things about your relationship with the Eibishter that you will not learn in any other context. You're worried about the carpet on your living room floor. Right? That was what the Rebbe is screaming in that Simchas Torah Tavshin Chav Beis. A Hollywood kitchen. So that's why there's a footnote here, because there it says Re'ei Barucha, because the Rebbe talks about it at length. The Rebbe forbringed about it for quite a while in that Sicha. It's a famous for bringing. So the yechida of the, when is this Jew complaining? This is a serious guy. This guy Mamish is a serious Talmud Chacham, and you would assume he's also a Chassidish guy. Right? When is he complaining to the Tzemach Tzedek that people are stepping all over him in the base medrash? In Yechidus. Right? Even though HaYechida Shel Zeh Nichnas is connected to the Yechida of the one who he's going into. Afal Pikein. Gam B'Yeseh B'Yechidus. Even when he was in Yechidus, HaYa'etz LaYahergesh, he still had the feeling Shedorsim Alav. Meaning even then he was such a Metzias that he was relating to the people, relating to him as they're walking all over him. I mean, I understand. I mean, I don't. The Rebbe says we shouldn't understand. But okay, even when he's in the base medrash, he's such a low life that's how he relates to what's going on. Okay, but when he's in Yechidus, he doesn't develop an appreciation of the fact that that's not reality. No, even there, he still thought that, and he's complaining to the Tzemach Tzedek. Even in the base, even in Yechidus, his sense of his own self is so powerful that all he can see is everything everybody's saying must be about him.
But this isn't the Hollywood kitchen.
No, this is worse.
Well, I don't know, because at the end, he's getting a lesson on himself that's crucial for his life.
Oh, for sure.
The Rebbe.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas the Hollywood kitchen, you're getting to answer the kitchen.
Well, we don't know what the Rebbe answered them in Yechidus, in all fairness. The Rebbe doesn't say what he told them. He might have given them over the head in Yechidus.
Even if he did, that was for him. Whatever that answer was, there was some answer that came out of the Rebbe. So even though it wasn't that he could have gone to a different level, the fact that this was really bothering him, and he laid it out to the Rebbe, it wasn't so. The kitchen to me is okay. That's one level.
The Rebbe brings this. I mean, you look in Chav Beis and see what the Rebbe says there. But the Friedrich Rebbe brought this case. And this is a famous story, but it's so interesting that the Yukim in the story.
Right.
The Aleph, he's got this Yeshus in the base medrash, and base, he's still got this Yeshus when he's sitting in front of the Rebbe. It's not even, very often when sitting with students in Farbrengens or in class, which sometimes turn into Farbrengens, which is mutter, right? If a class is into a Farbrengen, that's mutter. If a Farbrengen is a class, that's a chiyuv misa. So don't. Someone makes a Farbrengen a class, so they should be buried. But someone who turns a class into a Farbrengen, okay, Beseder, it happens. So very often, certain questions come up. And every now and then, I'm usually more often to Lubavitcher girls. I'll give this answer, and they find it rather challenging. It's okay, let me ask you a question. I want you right now to close your eyes and imagine you're standing in Yechidus in front of the Rebbe. These are girls who grew up with the Rebbe, right? They grew up in the Lubavitch homes. And ask the Rebbe the question you just asked me. And they all say, well, why wouldn't I be embarrassed? Oh, so it's not a very good question, is it? Right? I mean, if you would be embarrassed to ask the Rebbe this question, then obviously the question isn't a very good question. Right? Close your eyes, and we should all do that. Certain issues that we might have in life, close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing in front of you. You all know what the Rebbe looks like. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing in front of the Rebbe and ask the question. Most questions, you won't ask. You realize, okay, I'm not going there. It's not the right place to go. Okay, so this guy, he's looking at the Tzemach Tzedek with his eyes. And he's asking this question. That's what the Rebbe finds so astounding. Right? So that's an expression of his yesh. Ulechein, therefore, maybe b'maimer pratim anal da sipur. Therefore, the Friedrich Rebbe brings in the Maimer all of these details of the sipur. B'chtei lahadgish, in order to emphasize, shal yedei askola levad, through understanding alone, bli aveda, efshar liyos ispashtus hayeshus. There can be expression of the person's own yeshus. Gam b'migdash ma'at, even in the bzal, even in the base medrash. Vafilu kishenichnasim liyechidus, and even when they're going to yechidus.
You know, the way I saw it.
What? Demizeh move on a hechrich b'inyan aveda. Therefore, we see the inyan of aveda. What can happen today? And I'm just venting my own, but I'm allowed to vent. People who will talk to you about their experiences with the Rebbe in a way that they are clearly sending a message that I'm superior to you and you can never be a chassid like me because I experienced something that you didn't. No, you didn't experience it if that's the way you're relating to it. If you think the fact that you saw the Rebbe and you were there and you heard and you did makes you a better chassid than someone else, then you missed the whole point. You didn't see the Rebbe, you just saw yourself. You were watching yourself standing there going, wow, am I big? And sometimes you hear people from brain. The message is, you can never be like me because I saw. What kind of nonsense is that? Right? And in all fairness, there's a very poignant answer. Which generation took Am Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael? The generation that saw the miracles of Moshe Rabbeinu, Kriyas Yamsuf, Mitzias Mitzrayim, Matan Torah, or the second generation that didn't see as much? And probably, how often did they even see Moshe Rabbeinu, the youngsters? They're the ones who got into Eretz Yisrael. In our generation, they're the ones bringing Mashiach, not the old-timers. Us old-timers, we saw what we saw, but you know what? It's our kids who are going to bring Mashiach, not us. We're doing our, it's not that we're left out, but they're doing it. The new generation, they're bringing Mashiach. And they're amazing. They're incredible. They barely, half of them didn't even ever see the Rebbe. And they can put us in their back pocket in terms of their Chassidus and their Chassidischkeit and their Übergegebenkeit to the Rebbe. Right? Last night I was bringing with two of my sons. One was on the phone and the other was in front of me in real life. And they were talking about such a beautiful idea. I'm going to bring about a Jadiscus if I know it's going to come out. I just have to make sure it comes out right and I don't get myself in trouble. Right? Am I a chassid of the Lubavitch movement or am I a chassid of Lubavitch Rebbe? Oh, there's a movement called Lubavitch. Amazing. We're amazing. Shluchim, and we're so good and we're so amazing. And we are. What am I a chassid of? Lubavitch Rebbe or the Lubavitch movement? You better be a chassid of the Rebbe because then you have a chance. Lubavitch movement is amazing. It's incredible. It is. Why? Because the Rebbe, it's all the Rebbe. Right? That doesn't mean what we do doesn't matter, but it's all the Rebbe. Let's finish. Then the Tzemach Tzedek said to him, this is also part of the story. Yazev Rosha Darkei v'ish oven machshavesav. Right, he should leave the Rasha his way and the iniquitous one, machshavesav, his thoughts. But the Rabbi said, oin, oven, it's in the pasuk, it's oven, which is iniquitous. Oin, though, with a cholim, hu kayach va'ois, means power. Upedish ish oin, so therefore what does it mean, ish oin, the powerful person? So according to that reading, it's the Rasha should leave his way and the powerful person should leave his thoughts. What's the ish oin? Hu ish chazak b'das atzmai. Someone who's very, very convinced of his own prowess. And is very stark in his own ideas. V'zeu yazev Rasha darkei, the Rasha should leave his way. V'ish oin machshavesav, the powerful person should leave behind his thoughts. To kashem she yazev Rasha darkei, just like the Rasha obviously must leave his way. Hu davar shemuchrach, this is something that's absolutely necessary, and everybody would know that. The bli tshuva yefshar lageshes el kodesh, that without tshuva it's impossible to come close to kedusha. V'chein muchrach, therefore it's all just as necessary. Sha'ish oin, the one who's very set in his thoughts, and he's right, and he knows, and he's the one. Yazev es machshavesav, he should leave behind his thoughts, and machshavas the yeshus, the machshavas of his own greatness and his own self-importance. Whoa. Whoa. And that's the Frierdiker Rebbe, right? The Rebbe is quoting the Frierdiker Rebbe, quoting the Tzemach Tzedek. Right? And the Frierdiker Rebbe talked about these sort of things more often than our Rebbe does. Our Rebbe doesn't usually blast us this much, but every now and then he'll quote one of the other Rebbe. It's like when you ask a question, I'm asking a question for my friend, right? It's really, right? So the Rebbe is quoting the Frierdiker Rebbe, giving us over the head. Okay, so, okay, Beseder. We'll stop there and we'll pick up tomorrow.
Thank you.
Oh, we want that.